Hello and welcome back to All for United Tactical Preview. I've got a very, very special panel of guests lined up for you as ever. I'm struggling to get my words out here. Clearly, all that excitement from yesterday. We're going to be discussing all about the Liverpool game. Big game. A lot less scared for it now than I was maybe 24 hours ago. But that's all to be discussed. And I'll introduce everyone straight after this.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Right, I've had time to catch my breath. Hopefully I can get my next couple of words out. All right. Boys, it's a pleasure to have you on. As I said, a very, very special panel of guests, Stu, Abdul and Alan. Very, very happy to have you on. We'll quickly discuss yesterday's game because obviously it can't go under the radar. It was a game not only of great entertainment but of great significance as well to United's season. Stu, I'll come to you first. I know you briefly touched on it yesterday. Just briefly, 24 hours on, how are you feeling?
Yeah, nothing's changed really from yesterday for me. I didn't mind the game at all. I wasn't too unhappy with our first half performance because we did create chances, although they fell to the wrong people. And the second half kind of just showed really what the team was capable of doing. I suppose you have to ask the question why we don't do that for 90 minutes. But, you know, football's just a different beast. Minute by minute, and it just changes all the time. And they came out, you know, like a team possessed in the second half. We were laboured in the first half. I actually felt, and I did say that I would, put my foot on the ball and hold the ball and slow the play down for the first 10 or 15 minutes and play us into the game rather than allow Atalanta to come and smother us. But it didn't quite work out that way. Shaw was caught out of position. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking. He left Lindelof 2-on-1, and of course we all know what happened for the first goal. The second goal, well, yeah, what do we say? Apparently we've got a set piece coach, brilliant, who's doing the world of good for us. Because again Maguire was just caught ball watching, so it was a relatively straightforward header, but really, across the whole 90 minutes, a lot of the fan base would say we didn't deserve anything out of the game. I disagree. I think we played a good, solid game of football in both halves. And I agree with Ollie. I think we did play quite well. A lot of the fans are hanging on to Scholes' comments that if we played like that against Liverpool, we played out like that against City, we'll get destroyed. Well, we're not going to play like that against Liverpool, and we won't play like that against City. Ollie was in a situation where we had to go and win that game of football last night, and we did. And whether people like it or not, whether they want to back him or not, is an irrelevance, because right now we're sitting top of our Champions League group, and that's all you can ask for. That's where we need to be. So, I'm exactly the same as I was last night. I watched it again today, and I still got the buzz when Ronaldo popped his header in. You know, and that's what football should do to you. And if it doesn't do that to you, go and fucking support basketball or someone else, netball. I don't care. But that's what football should do to you. So, yeah, really, really chuffed. Really happy.
Hell of a sport, isn't it? Well, I'll come to you next, Alan, because I'll start by saying it's brilliant to have you on. Obviously, I don't think you've been on this show before. So, you know, nothing out of your realm, don't worry. But I wanted to ask you specifically, obviously, it was a massive turnaround at half-time, and you'll have been in those situations where you're down at half-time, and that 15 minutes is pivotal. But can you shed some light on just how important Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's half-time talk was and how much of an impact it would have made?
Yeah, I think just listening, Jay, to his interview and some of the comments he made after the game, he said that he remained, I don't know, whether he lost his rag or not, he probably would have been entitled to do that. But he said he remained quite calm at half-time. And I always go back to the fact, I remember Sir Alex saying like 2-0 is one of the most dangerous scorelines you can have. And I think, Jay, what he would have been saying at half-time is, let's get this next goal. That is absolutely crucial. And I think as soon as we got that, we had a couple of half chances before that. I think Rashford had a couple that he slashed at and he put a couple wide. But when he went through, a brilliant ball from Bruno, wasn't it, to get him on his way, and he stuck that home in the corner. I just sensed that momentum was kind of starting to turn after that. And, following that sort of terrible first half, because that's what it was, wasn't it? It was a real disappointment. I wouldn't say Atalanta are a fantastic European side by any stretch of the imagination. So to go in half-time 2-0 down was a massive worry, massive concern. You could feel all this tension, all the ollie outers growing and growing. And, I think there was, I sensed a few boos, a bit of disgruntlement at half-time, which is, is quite rare at United, or it has been in the modern day. But fortunately, coming back into that second half and finding that goal from Marcus, and then Harry Maguire managing to get us on terms. I don't know. I think he closed his eyes and hit that one in the corner. Like AJ, what a finish from Cristiano, and an absolutely brilliant cross from Luke Shaw. He got it right in the danger area, and give Cristiano an opportunity to rise and nod that home. So just going back to your earlier point, Jay, I think a bit of composure in the dressing room, and he would have said it's absolutely vital that we find that next goal. And we survived. It wasn't all plain sailing second half, was it? Was that they had a few chances? I think probably like a coaching manual of stuff here that you could probably get better. I think near the end, Lindelof got turned by the forward, didn't he? And he tried to slash it over with his left peg that De Gea managed to block, and then it come to the edge of the box and he saved another one. So it was like living on tenterhooks, but to get that over the line, I think was a big result for the club and for Ollie last night, a huge one.
Yeah, I was quite surprised at letting Lindelof one out, because if you remember, he was slightly to the left of him, and I couldn't quite work out why he was, because he didn't even try and put a shadow arm around him either, to try and stop the turn. And, I mean, he was quite rapid on the turn, was the player, and it was hell of a strike, but it was kind of right down at De Gea's. But yeah, Lindelof completely went to sleep then. He was wrong side of a player that you were standing behind. I couldn't quite get my head around that one. I was struggling with that myself.
Yeah, so if he'd have managed to slot that, or would have been Curtis, would that have put them 3-2 or 3-1 up that?
3-1. Yeah. We would have struggled then to get back into it. That's football, though, isn't it? That happens in a game, doesn't it? Players do switch off of any caliber. It just happens regularly. It's how you bounce back from it. And we caused ourselves a couple of issues, didn't we, towards the end? But like you say, all in all, we won.
Yeah, and I think just going back to Jay's point there, I think Ollie, although going in 2-0 down, he probably wouldn't have been blowing his top at half-time, because he'd be thinking, we created some decent chances first half. Marcus had a couple. I think Fred had one where he cut inside and just bent it wide. So he's probably thinking, well, if I go in with all guns blazing, that might even suppress it even more. So a little bit of composure. Let's get the next goal, and it worked out well for us in the end.
Yeah.
Certainly. Well, I'll come to you, Abdul. We'll look at it a bit more analytically. Now, don't get me wrong, it was an incredible second half performance against a team that's been described as the Italian Leeds in terms of their style of play, which raises the question, did we play as well as we possibly could, or did Atalanta play into our hands? I don't mean to put a downer on anything that would happen, but is there a chance that it was half a dozen of one, 6 of the other?
Well, there is an element of that, because they use a man marking system themselves too, but they're not as aggressive as Leeds in it. So when Leeds play their man marking system, they really play man for man. Each one takes one kind of thing, and they latch on to each player. But Atalanta, and also given that they were missing many of their backline, their first teamers, so they did not do that. Only when they went upfield, they were trying to do a man for man, but then we progressed easily, so they went back into their shape, which was like a 5-3-2. But no, because we pinned them down into their own half most of the match, they didn't have the chance to go man for man a lot. Obviously, when they did, there was space. We exploited it. We moved faster. but I wouldn't say it's the same as Leeds or the same as the Leeds game, and that's why we did what we did. No. There were so many elements in that game that United did that they haven't done all season. Like take away the Leeds game, just subtract that game out of the season. All season, there were elements that United did or things that United did in that game that they haven't done all season. For example, their wing play. That improved massive. I don't know where did that come from yesterday, but they were playing the wings and the channels. They were playing it like they've been doing that, as if they've been doing that for a season or something. And I was like, if that was there, where was it all season? Aaron Wan-Bissaka making runs, Shaw making runs. Even if Shaw is not in position, Bruno Fernandes or Fred move in close to the channel and then make a run himself, or make a way for a winger to make a run. Obviously, there were times where they all stopped and didn't make a run. They all got confused. It doesn't happen for all 90 minutes, but that's okay. There was just a lot of runs. People were running more. Like even Cristiano Ronaldo, for all the criticism I've given him, was working hard yesterday. So I was like, so my question all match was just like, where was that before? Even in the first half. And people say we weren't playing that well because we just went 2-0 down. And most of the people on Twitter look at the result. They don't really look at the performance. If you're 2-0 down, then you're playing shit. If you're not 2-0 down, then they're, 2-0 down, we were playing well. We were pinning them back.
Absolutely.
Atalanta had literally that 2 chances. They were the only 2 times they entered the box. And they scored from their 2 goals. Now it's harsh on United because that was the only two opportunities they've given Atalanta, and it stemmed from 2 issues that United suffer from, which is wingers not tracking back, and set pieces issues.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame Maguire on the set piece though, because the ball wasn't in Maguire's zone. Like people say we abandoned the zonal. We didn't abandon the zonal. It's still man and zonal, both of them. I think it was closer to Scott's zone, and Shaw as well was sandwiched between them than Maguire. Maguire realized that they're not jumping. He tried to catch up. He just couldn't make it on time. Corners is timing. Corners is all about timing. If you don't get the timing right, you're done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He was slightly, a second late.
Yeah.
But Al plays, I was a right back and played at the back line. It's then for Shaw, then for McTominay to have dragged.
McTominay got pushed, so I give him. I give him an excuse because he really got pushed. Now would that have cancelled the goal if they looked at it? Blah blah blah. Maybe not.
But good communication in the back would have been, and also Maguire. If you look, he never looked over his shoulder once. And I know what you're talking about, the zonal side of it. I understand all that, but he didn't look over his shoulder once. And if he looked over his shoulder just a little bit, and I think it was one step. That's all he needed, just one step. He'd have intercepted it. But look, it's easy for me to say.
Yeah, he tried to jump from his place. So even if you see his body position, it was kind of like not vertical or horizontal. It was kind of in the middle. So when someone is trying to reach from his place to something in front of him, way in front of him. So he kind of looked like he's in the middle between being horizontal and vertical. So your body position makes you realize that he realized it late and he tried to get to a position.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
higher than him. So yeah.
Then again, do you see his body position when he scored his goal?
That too.
Textbook.
Yeah, it was good. It was good that he separated himself from the back line and waited for his moment. I'm pretty sure he didn't expect that Cavani would do the dummy he did.
No,
but he was in position and he took it well.
Yeah.
So again, the difference between the first half and the second half is that the things we were doing in the first half, we did them more frequently. So the runs were more frequent. The passes were forward more. Everything was just a bit more, And the pressing was not that pressing that we saw. Leicester was probably one of the worst performances I've seen in the season.
Oh, it was awful.
It was so bad in every aspect of the game. So we were passive even as well. So like it's kind of like half the team decided to press on its own and the other half decided to be passive. So it was kind of like two teams playing and not playing against each other.
Yeah.
But yesterday the press was very good. Even Ronaldo started putting effort, you know, and this is where I will always stand up for Fred and Scott. Their energy backs up the press. You know, they may have deficiencies in passing, they may have deficiencies in their sense of positioning sometimes, but their energy backs up the press a lot. So whenever Shaw, if you know the person beside you is always going to back you up, it gives you the confidence to go up. So when the winger like Rashford pressed, you always saw Shaw behind him. And why was Shaw behind him? Because he knew Fred was going behind him as well.
Yeah.
And if you have all three of your side pushing together with your striker, then you're a unit. Then it cuts off all the lanes for the opposition to pass. Their only option is to either go backwards or to lump it forward. And this is the role of your center backs to win the headers. You know, and then the role of your midfielders to get back within distance so that they can win the second ball. You know, if you don't do these things, you know, together, then you're disjointed. And once you're disjointed, then there is a lot of space to play through you easily.
So it leads me on to a point that I raised last night. That leads us quite nicely into that, because I said exactly not word for word, but pretty much the same, because I was really impressed with McTominay and Fred last night. Fred in particular, because Fred played the more advanced role for once out of the two. The only thing Scott did, and you're absolutely right, he got his position wrong on a few occasions. I've always said, and you've heard me talk about this, Abdel, a central midfielder, you know, puts himself in an imaginary box and works within the confines of that box. That allows you then to cover where you need to cover on the right or the left, or you can push forward or you can push back. But what Fred did better than he's done all season, I think, and most of last season as well, is he played his 8. What he's been doing for Brazil, he played in that hole that he likes to play in. He was able to cover Shaw. He was able to come across on the right and cover Wan-Bissaka on occasions. And with McTominay holding, I thought we looked better and more balanced. The Twitter coaches don't agree with us because if you read some of the Twitter last night, they said we'll get destroyed in the middle. But I thought they gave us that balance we desperately needed and energy. So
I liked both of the runs forward yesterday. So Scott had a couple of runs forward that were really nice, and one of them hit the post. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it.
Off his knee.
But Scott McTominay's biggest issue, though, is that he hides from the ball when we're building up. So we're coming off of our own half. Scott is kind of like running behind their own striker. He's not making himself available at all, if you notice him very well. So, and that's an issue, because if you don't make yourself available for the ball, then your center back doesn't have a passing lane, doesn't have a passing option to you.
Yeah, that's what he's there for. That's exactly what he's there for.
And that's exactly his role. He's a central midfielder. He needs to make himself available. I'm pretty sure we've all watched Scholes, right? Scholes' genius was that he makes himself available. He looks where the space is. Where can I move away from the opposition to make myself space so that I can make myself available for my center backs to pass to me? And it was an automatic thing. That's his intelligence. Like, take away his passing, just the recognition of space. This is what Scott unfortunately lacks. Lacks big time. He hides from the ball. So, and we've said this before, most of the match is off-ball work. Like, players don't get on the ball that frequently. If you count all their touches, it's about 3 minutes to 4 minutes. So if you're off the ball, you don't do much, then you're useless to the team. If you're just going to do 2 actions that were good and fans are going to get up for it, but the rest of the match you don't do anything, it just doesn't work.
I mean, Al, you were a right back, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, some would say that. I don't know.
No, but what I'm getting at is you know, if you do take the ball from the keeper, or you take it from the centre half, you'd look for the internal pass, wouldn't you? You look for the diagonal internal. You'd step up 3 or 4 yards. You'd want it back. Yeah. And then
if you don't have an option in the center from your Scott McTominay, because if you're a right back and Scott plays on the right side of the central midfield, if Scott's hiding behind his opposition, you can't reach him, then you have one less option to pass the ball to. So you either
Absolutely.
pass it on the line to your forward and risk it, or you go back to your centre back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You should have 2 or 3 options when you get the ball off the keeper. You can either go long into your forwards, or you'll give it your winger, or like you said, Abdul, get it into your midfielders who can maybe clip it forward first time, or take a touch and look for something.
Yeah. So the only go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, if you've not got that option, it just puts a bit of pressure on your passing then, because your chances are you're going to have to go long with it.
Exactly, and a higher chance of you losing it. Yeah. So, and the thing is, Scott is not a 6, so I excuse him for this. So his mindset is like, I'm looking for space forward. So Scott is very good at carrying the ball when there is space. He recognizes there is space behind an opposition. I'll take the ball, I'll shrug him off me, and I run with the ball forward. And that's he's good at. And if we're higher up the pitch and there is a way to make a third run, he will make it. Not the best run most of the times or half of the times, but he does. And that's a good option.
I agree. And if he could discipline himself, because that's all he needs to do. He just got to discipline himself a little bit. As you quite rightly say, just take the ball, put his foot on it and drop it 2 or 3 yards. You can discipline yourself to do that, but it's in his brain. He's so used to carrying the ball. It's in his brain. And it needs players around him. Now, sorry, I know I keep coming back to you, Al, but you're a really good benchmark and a marker for us, for the viewers to really understand professional football, because
that's why he's here, Stu. That's why he's
here. I know. You played alongside Steve Bruce on occasions, and he's telling you where to operate. But, as a right back, you've got to be shouting at McTominay, just hold your fucking ground. I need you back 10 yards, pal. Just drop me the ball. And and things of this nature. Communication, it's so underrated in modern day football, or any type of football. Even when I was growing up, our coaches used to bang on about just talk. Where do you want me? I'm going to stay here. Yeah, no. I need you 2 yards up. Why? Because you're going to get them away. Things of that nature. And that's what you're talking about, Abdel, is basic communication. It's wrong, isn't it, in the professional game? When you think
the people can argue against it in the sense of that there is no time now. Like, it kind of like the football is so fast paced at the moment that there is no time to communicate. I need to understand where you will be by habit, and that's why people advocate for, robotic systems, where like everything is going to move in place and players are just recognizing the puzzle because they did this puzzle in training, and you can get away 1, 2, 3 times, and then you have to communicate that after some time. Tell him, like, you're doing this wrong. I can't find you. You're behind the striker of the opposition.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
So obviously, when there is intermission of some sort, like a ball goes out, a corner kick or a goal kick, they have to talk to each other about what they're doing wrong. Like, a center back, his center partner was moving forward and leaving him alone, or a right back is moving way too much forward and leaving an opening. I think these are the chances where they can communicate, but they can't do it while they're with the ball. Like move forward, I have the ball with me, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Typical man, I'm afraid, Abdel. We can't multitask, can we? We can't do 2 things at once.
And especially if you look at our right side where Aaron Wan-Bissaka is, and he had a great game yesterday.
Yes, he did.
He's a confidence player. So, like, you remember that run where he ran past 2 and just took charged an attack all on his own. That's a sense of confidence. That's something I get when I play, for example. If I can do this kind of thing, I will run the length of the field with the ball and find an option, or take a shot myself. And this is the moment where I realized he's really big on confidence. So if like something boosts him up, he will do the things you're expecting him to do, but he's not doing, And some players are like that. So the manager has to keep his confidence all the time level, up. Like, he has to encourage him somehow. He has to tell him, like, Aaron, you can do this. You're good at that.
I can relate to that. When I was playing, what about you, Albert? I had to get the first header in by hook or by crook. I had to get the first, whether I fouled him or whatever, I had to get the first header in.
You always need an action. Like, that's one action you do that you're going to get like a boost out of,
Yeah, that was my marker, on the centre forward. I had to get that header in, whatever. And I would imagine it was a tackle for you, wasn't it? Put him in Rose head as quickly as you can.
I think, like anything else, just getting something done effectively early on, and then you can settle into the game. Then, can't you? I mean, if you do something poor early on, you kind of think it's not going to be my 90 minutes. This and something well can set you up nicely. So,
For me, it's a long pass. If I can make a successful long pass, I get so happy with that, and it drives me through the game.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw a question to anyone.
Sorry,
This is free to anyone. Obviously, we were talking just then about McTominay having to come and show for the ball more. We know Wan-Bissaka's not the best on the ball anyway, even with this confidence boost. But given the context of the opposition we're going to play, Liverpool are a very high pressing team. We know that. That's no secret at all. Yeah. Would you want to see McTominay start showing for the ball against Liverpool, or is it not really worth the risk of losing it that high up? Given that he doesn't do it much anyway, is it worth just sticking to what we're doing at the minute, sticking to how you normally play against Liverpool, or would McTominay come in short and offering himself have its positives?
I think if that's not McTominay's game, I wouldn't sort of start, advising him to start changing that, Jay, to be honest with you.
The only reason I'm asking is because, in my opinion, this could be wrong, but it seems to me that McTominay is probably our most press-resistant midfielder. Yeah. So that's the thing that's swaying it sort of 50-50 for me. Usually I'd say no, don't even think about it. But the fact that McTominay naturally is quite press-resistant is making me think maybe it's worth a try.
Who would you have him to hold then?
What is it? Is the two midfielders?
Yeah, who would you have him to hold alongside him? Would you trust Fred on that? Would you have Matic in?
There's not a chance he goes anything other than McTominay and Fred against Liverpool. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
I wouldn't want him to go differently, like he did Pogba and Scott in the FA Cup when we won.
Yeah,
but even that one was a bit kind of like on edge,
Do you know what I'd like to see? And it won't happen, and I'll laugh at this one. I'd like to see an old-fashioned 4-4-2 lineup against Liverpool. We haven't got the personnel to do it, by the way. We don't.
We will be forced into it anyway.
We will be.
Out of possession, we are 4-4-2.
Yeah. Well, or 4-5-1, something like that. But what I'd like to see is primarily start with that, because we all know, and James is absolutely right, and everyone on this panel knows exactly where their threat is, and that's their wing backs. And we've got to find a way of suffocating their wing backs. And it'll be interesting, actually, to see who we trust on our our wider areas, to see who can help support. Obviously, Rashford. Dan James, yeah.
Bring him from Leeds just for this game.
Yeah, look, I think if James was here, he would have started. I agree with that, James. I think you're 100% accurate. And I think with Rashford potentially being available again, I don't know if it's a dead leg or whatever his injury was. We know that the Rashford-Shaw combination works exceptionally well on the left. We don't know what's our best combination on the right yet. I think that's a fair comment. Because Amon Wan-Bissaka had Greenwood up there, he's had Sancho with him. But whoever plays alongside or just ahead of Wan-Bissaka is going to need to really quadruple their workload, because we know where Liverpool attack. You don't nobody needs to be a rocket scientist on this. It's very, very straightforward. So, James, you are right. I was spitballing really, but you are right, because he will go with Fred and McTominay. There's absolutely no two ways about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't line up with the same starting 11 that started against Atalanta. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't line up against Liverpool like that.
Yeah. Is Fred carrying a knock? He looked to be struggling a little bit last night, didn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe a problem or something.
We won't know.
Something with his thigh, no?
Was it tomorrow that he's got his presser, or is it Saturday?
I think he briefly mentioned it in his post-match, but I don't think to any sort of extent. There was nothing confirming or denying whether he'd be available. So I suppose it's just touch and go.
Yeah, and Rashford looked to be a bit in discomfort.
Actually, I like the comment from Trigger there.
I don't know whether he's all right or...
He is saying that they do look shaky because they commit a lot of people forward and they rely on their two centre-backs and 1v1s all the time. But at the same time, we do need commitment from our wingers to go back.
Agreed.
If they don't do that, Liverpool is going to have a field day.
Yeah. So that brings the question, and do you, as Trigger says, and we know that Greenwood isn't brilliant at tracking back. We know what Ronaldo's going to do, but you're absolutely right. I did notice Ronaldo is a bit more.
Continue saying this, and I'll say something after that. But
yeah, I noticed Ronaldo is a bit more light on his feet, but you know that Rashford is going to back up if he plays. We know he's going to back up Luke Shaw. So would we give Sancho the nod on the proviso that he works a lot harder than Greenwood? I don't know. That was all I was going to say. It was just a question.
Okay, so I was on the Champions League Twitter account, and they posted a video of some goals and some moves about. It was a clip about one of the players from Villarreal, all right, and it was showing a couple of instances where from our match against them and how he dribbled past players and blah blah blah, and in those clips. There were images of both Greenwood and Sancho where their fullback, which is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, was left stranded and they're just walking about.
Yeah.
And that I was like they didn't mean it, but I was like, oh my God, this is Man United's problem encapsulated in just a short video there. The winger is just jogging about or walking about, and the fullback is having to deal with a nightmare of two players, just one running behind him and one who has the ball he's facing one-on-one. So he can't do two jobs at the same time, So the guy who runs and he's focusing on the guy with the ball, and the guy with the ball just passes to the one who makes the run, and there's nobody challenging him. And that's exactly what Man United is as a problem.
Yeah.
In currently. Their wingers just don't put in the effort to go backwards to help their fullbacks because they want to take the ball and run on the opposite direction to counterattack. But they have to work as a team, or else against teams like Liverpool, they're gonna get done. They're a lethal team. They will take all their chances. They're not Villarreal. But I would say also that we need Cavani starting from the beginning, because I know he worked yesterday, but give him a rest at least. He played 90 minutes and he's a 36-year-old. No matter how people want to put it and how his physique is amazing and all that stuff, he's still a 36-year-old. Mentally, he will switch up. I need to take a breather, or I need to conserve some energy, or I need to do this. Cavani, I don't know how he does it, the man, but he needs to be checked for his age. He runs and it doesn't stop.
Amazing.
He's not 34 years old. I don't know how is that possible, but he's not 34 years
amazing.
old. We need that. We need someone to hassle their center backs and their defensive midfielder. We need them not to be comfortable.
Yeah, we could bring Ronaldo on potentially, like you say, as an impact.
Like an impact sub.
Yeah,
I would bring him on the 75th, 70 minute. Maybe he can clutch a goal, at the end again.
Well, with Cavani in the team and that work rate, is there an argument to be had to force Bruno into more of an 8 role that he plays with Portugal to give us bodies in the middle as well? If we're talking about energy up front, we don't then need his pressing right from the front. So could he be better utilised in that midfield, helping out McTominay and Fred?
I've been saying it for a few weeks. I think he should be a bit deeper, 10 yards, 15 yards deeper.
He does come deep though. With no instruction, because Bruno, we know he has the free role, the guy who's free in the team.
Yeah,
he does come deeper when he can't get the ball.
I'd like to see him start a bit deeper actually, and because I think he can control the play a bit better, a bit deeper. I know people will argue, his goals, his assists, etc. And he's come out and said today, hasn't he, or yesterday, that he's not maybe playing so well at the minute, or it looks like he's not playing so well because he's trying the more exotic pass, the more Hollywood pass, rather than and I kind of accept that, and I get that. And he's a huge,
it's a Bruno thing. It's never
that's right. And it's and huge. Bruno's a huge player for us, but I'd like to see him start a little bit deeper and be a bit more creative, deeper. And then really push on and then support the attack. It's just a preference I've had for a while, actually.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he already drops in deeper because of our progressive issues with Fred.
Exactly, because he has to, doesn't he? Yeah. I think it's a case of himself.
But that creates another problem it solves a problem but creates another one. Because And I remember Ollie saying this in the 19 and 20 season when he came in, actually, during that post-lockdown period that we had. There was an interview of Ollie, I'm not sure after the Bournemouth game or Aston Villa maybe. He said that like the interviewer told him, like, any word on Bruno? Can you, like, we are running out of superlatives to describe him because he had a good game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's like, he's been amazing from us. But like, Bruno does some stuff that makes me want to pull my hair out as well. He's like, sometimes he vacates spaces where I want him to be, but when he produces like this, you can't really, what can you say? You can't really tell him much. So and that's exactly the point that happens when Bruno drops deeper to progress the ball because he can't get it. He vacates his space. So you need bodies in the center forward, between the lines, between the first and the second line, right? And when he does that, okay, who's centrally to take your place so that you can pass to, So he has to go for the Hollywood one, waiting for a run from a striker or a winger to go for a longer pass because there's no option in the center to go for a shorter one.
Yeah, this is where I think at the moment Greenwood's got a slight issue. The thing with Greenwood is he either plays too far wide, he plays too far in. He's never in between the halfway line and the 18-yard box where he needs to be. And when you're talking about space there, that's where Greenwood could be his most dangerous if Bruno's looking for those through balls. I like to see him, position himself around there. But look, he's a young player and he's learning for Alan, wouldn't want him too wide all the time. He wouldn't want him too far inside because he's got nowhere to hit. He needs him in the middle. So that if he is collecting the ball, Al could zip round him, get a cross in, or he could go left, get a shot in, or anyway. So
he had a very underrated game yesterday. He had a really good game. People, I don't know. I was checking SofaScore, the statistic website, and they gave him a very low rating. And I was like, huh? After I watched the match, and I was like, that does not make sense because a lot of his passes started our attacks. Like, he would find people deep into the Atalanta half, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because it's amazing because Greenwood is a striker, and he wants to shoot, so he's changing that habit slightly. If you can manage to change one of your shooters into a player that wants to create as well, that's a positive. That's a big positive for United because they have too many shooters. They have Ronaldo who wants to score and shoots every time he gets a chance. Bruno does it. They have Rashford who does it. And they bought Sancho for that specific reason. Was that because they have too many shooters. Sancho is not a shooter. Sancho is a creator first, then a shooter if he has a chance. So, and then Greenwood was also a shooter as well. If Greenwood can change that because he's younger than all of them, and add a little bit of that dimension to his game of, like, if I find one of my teammates in a better position than myself, I will pass instead of thinking of taking the shot myself, will change the dynamic for United a lot. And so that's why I was impressed with his performance yesterday. He wasn't selfish at all.
It's the old-fashioned eye test, isn't it? You know what some fans think if Greenwood's not taken on two or three people. Like you said, had a couple of shots, he's had a bad game, but he kind of got a roasting, if you remember, early doors in the first half, or was it the second half, off Ronaldo. Greenwood.
I didn't notice that. No.
Yeah, it was a roast. He'd done something. He didn't look for Ronaldo when he cut off, but I think that was very early doors. But he did. I thought he changed his game last night as well. I didn't think.
I thought Fred was the one who got a bit of a roasting from. Because when he took his shot, Ronaldo was a bit free. He was like, "Pass it to me. What are you doing?
Yeah,
why are you taking the shot?
How dare you try that with your right foot? Get off! You got."
That was funny.
Yeah. Sorry, James, we've kind of monopolised the show tonight, pal. Sorry.
No, that's what I want. Like I say every time, the less speaking I have to do, generally the better the show is. So we'll try and keep it that way. But another sort of possible strength I wanted to raise, I'll ask you first, Alan. We'll bring you back into it a bit. Obviously, at least a couple of weeks ago, if it probably still is the same, but I can't be certain. Liverpool had the highest XG of any Premier League team from set pieces. And obviously last two games we've conceded from corner kicks. So what do we do to stop that threat? Obviously Van Dijk is probably the most aerially dominant player in the league alongside Ronaldo. So what can we change in such a short period of time to try and prevent them from scoring from these set pieces?
Yeah, it's a good question, James. It's something we've struggled with for a while. Listen, and as you quite rightly mentioned earlier on in the show, we had the innovative approach of bringing a set piece coach in, didn't we? But unfortunately, we still seem to be conceding from these areas. And to me, it just, this might sound a little bit stripped back to basics, but it really is about, just doing the basics well, defending, going tight with people. Yeah, I always say you've got to try and die to stop goals going in against you. You've got to throw yourself in front of the ball. You've got to battle. You've got to win aerial duels. And I think we lack a little bit. I know Harry Maguire was brought in. I'm not going to be too critical of Harry, but on some occasions you think like his defending is not great. A bit worrying sometimes. He gets a little bit caught out of position, but he's the man who needs to sort of keep that back four gelled together. That's my main concern, I think, Jay, on Sunday, and that is trying to deal with Mane, Firmino, and Salah. Our back four's got to be right on it. If it's not, I think we're going to find this very, very challenging. So it's a big ask. It's a big test, but a lot of people are writing us off, aren't they? They think this is going to be Liverpool's day. So what an opportunity to grow a bit of character and get a decent result on Sunday. I think there's so many people expecting Liverpool to win this, so maybe that'll suit us. I think I looked at the bookies have got us in as 2-1 to win, so a decent price, and we'll just see what happens. But yeah, for me, I think that's going to be absolutely critical. Our back four has got to be on it on Sunday, or else we'll get pulled apart.
Definitely. Well, I'll come to you then, Abdul, because we briefly discussed the zonal marking system earlier, and I think the thing you notice about Liverpool in contrast to United is the power and speed that they attack these set pieces and these aerial balls. It's obviously heavily in Liverpool's favour. So does that not put us at a disadvantage if we're using a zonal marking system, because we'll be a bit flat-footed anyway? And if so, is it worth getting rid of it for a game just to try and cope with the movement and the power in the air?
The thing is about man marking and zonal that people don't realize, it won't matter if your timing is off. So if your reaction time to the corner being taken is even 1 millisecond off, then you give an advantage to that. Like, for example, we always say when a coach is messing up, like especially from like set pieces, and then you see like a short guy marking a really tall guy, and people go nuts. It's like, why is the shortest guy in the team marking one of their tallest guys? Like, and they go like crazy about it. Well, it's very simple, because the idea is always to put their reaction time off so that they don't get to the ball. It's not about preventing him completely by just overpowering. It's just about delaying. So if you can delay let's say the ball is aimed for Virgil van Dijk, and this is gonna sound so funny, but let's say you put Fred on Virgil van Dijk, the idea behind that isn't that Fred is gonna overpower Virgil. The idea behind that is that Fred is gonna hassle Virgil just enough to delay him, so he's gonna miss the ball, and that's the idea behind set pieces. It's execution time and reaction time, So whether it's zonal or man for man, if your players are not aware, and it's the key here is really, really awareness, if they're not aware of the movement and their reaction is not fast enough, then you always lose it. There's also the other option about it, where people go for like attack the ball, right? So let's see where the ball is going. Just focus on the ball, the trajectory of the ball, and attack it, even if you have to attack the opposition player with it. At least if you get a touch on the ball. So it's either this or that. So it's either your execution and reaction time is good on every player in the box, so that you tip them off, or delay them, or delay their own reaction. Or you attack the ball consistently and frequently so that you win it most of the times. Right. So it's one or the other. But there isn't really a massive difference in man marking or zonal if your reaction time and execution is off. That you'll face the same problem every single time. And this is, again, like the short guy against the tall guy. They actually do it for that specific reason. They don't want him to overpower him. They want him to delay him. That's it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that. So thank you for that, I suppose. But Stu, I'll come to you with this question from the comments. It's from John. It says, "Do we think the lack of organisation from set pieces could be linked to Varane not playing?" Now, I'll kickstart with my answer, and then you can obviously build on that. I don't think it is, because realistically, it's the same back four as last season. So surely that they'll have been regimented into having that communication organisation. But what do you think?
No, I agree with you, James. I don't think it is a contributing factor. I think Abdel and Alan have pretty much hit the nail on the head. There's not a great deal for me to add to it, apart from what I used to do was marked by feel. I don't know whether you did the same, Al. And what I mean by that, it sounds a bit perverted, I know, but if I was a yard or 2 yards off a player, I've got my arm out and I'm touching and I'm just trying to find out where he is. So if I can touch his back or I can touch his front, I know where to adjust myself, ready for the flight of the ball. What happens now is two things. Defenders have got the stop wrestling centre forwards, which is good in one hand because of penalties, etc., but it's bad in another hand because, as Abdel says, it's not really whether you give the run; it's about strength sometimes. And a good centre half, when I was playing in his day, they were big, strong, no teeth, fucking get their heads in, and they'd fucking do you. And the other thing is about it, and you'll notice this. I'm going to use the phrase weakness, because there is a weakness, because I cannot remember the last time a United central defender broke his nose. When I was playing in our day, it was every other week. Steve Bruce used to break his nose every other week, didn't he? Because he's getting stuck in there. He's got this will to win from going. So that's the only thing I can add to it is I used to do it by touch and feel. And that gave me my position. I knew where I needed to be just purely by touch and feel.
Yeah. And that was the philosophy under Sir Alex when it comes to set pieces. He said, attack the ball. Like it's written in one of his books that when it came to set pieces, the instructions they've always given the players is like, attack the ball, see where the ball is going and attack it. Like it's the last thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to him who's making runs over there. What mattered to him where the ball is going. And all of you, or your biggest, like the best player you have that wins aerial duels, his main purpose being in that box is to attack the ball, wherever it's going.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the other thing was, and again, I'll know this because he probably got his ear whipped more than once, is if I missed a header or whatever, fuck me, Jesus Christ, I'll be getting it from the keeper, the skipper, the right back, and all of this, and you knew, so you just had to make sure. And it's just one of those. But look, everybody does it differently. Well, they're coached differently, they're trained differently. But that's how I did it. That's the only thing I could add to what you guys have said, really.
Yeah,
I'll get this question off quickly because I can feel a sneeze coming. But I know you've got to go soon, Stu. So we'll go. We'll go into our predicted lineups then. Obviously, we do it at the end of every show. We're assuming the back four will be the same as the last couple of games. Everyone, all right with that? I suppose it's probably going to be one of the easiest predicted lineups we've done, especially with the way Ollie thinks. Any advancements on McTominay and Fred in the midfield? Obviously, well, is there anyone who would play anything different?
No, I don't think I would actually on Sunday. If I'm being brutally honest, I think I would step with that. Yeah.
I don't think there's any time for flair or technicality in that midfield on Sunday. But
sad, but true.
Yeah, I think that's the conclusion you've got to come to with Liverpool at the minute. But we're assuming Bruno's going to hold that number 10 position. Whether it will be a 10 on the day or not remains to be seen. Anyone not want him to start? Anyone think a Pogba or a Van de Beek could do a better job there, given the opponents?
I think Stu made a good point there. I think that Fred and McTominay, I think, just sitting, it's vital that we don't give Liverpool space to get balls into them. Front three are the dangers for me. Again, just reiterating that point that I made before about Sané, Firmino and Salah. And if we can stop the feed to them, maybe by, a couple of players who are a little bit more defensively minded, and quell that danger, that might give us a better option to counter-attack them, and get it moving forward quicker when we get the opportunity. I'm not too sure. I mean, it's this is that sort of argument again. We keep hearing Paul Pogba, world class, great footballer. He certainly is, but I'm not too sure whether he's going to get the nod again on Sunday. He might have to be an impact player coming off the bench, but we don't know. We don't know. He might be seeing it differently between him. McKenna, Carrick, McPhelan, they might have a little bit more insight and ideas how to stop Liverpool. But I feel like Stu says possibly, and like you said, Jay, maybe going with Fred, and if he's fit, of course, and maybe McTominay again, just to sort of protect that kind of Lindelof and Maguire partnership and stop balls getting fed through to them front three.
Yeah.
Abdul, were you going to say something on the Fernandes Pogba thing?
No, I was just gonna say that I don't think if Ronaldo's going to play, that Pogba can play as well.
Agreed. That's what I was going to say.
One of them has to sit it out.
Yeah.
It's obviously Ronaldo. Like, I can't imagine Ollie's gonna make Ronaldo sit on the bench against Liverpool.
No chance.
There's no way he's gonna do that because just because of the reaction of fans and the media,
Won't happen.
So the whole world will go mad. Basically, the biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
So if Ronaldo's guaranteed to start, then you need Rashford for sure. You need Bruno's work rate.
Yeah.
And then the question mark would be Sancho or Greenwood on the right. That's all.
That would be my question mark. And if I'm leaning towards it, unpopular decision, I'd probably edge for Sancho. Unpopular decision, I know, but that's what I would do.
The thing is, with the wingers, they're gonna play a very important role, which is one of them has to tuck into midfield.
Yeah,
because Liverpool like to overload the midfield and overload one side and then switch by making Firmino drop. So since the two center backs can't follow Firmino to the midfield, then you have your two pivots, overloaded. So that's going to be a 2v3. So one of your wingers has to tuck inside, so it will free one of the pivot to mark Firmino.
Yeah.
And then the other pivot marks the other midfielder.
That's why I think Sancho would be a better option. It's the only reason.
And Sancho was tucked in against Leicester. Now, it wasn't that effective since we fucked up the plan anyway. So I think Sancho would be better in the role of tucking into midfield, because Sancho can play in midfield, actually. He can play a 10. So that will be crucial in how we stop Liverpool, because they will rely a lot on that overload. And then once they make the switch, that player who tucks in, which hopefully Sancho or Rashford, whoever it is, runs out to the flank to cover the fullback coming in, flying in from the other side. So their role is very important. Like, as much as we're talking about the back four being awake and aware and all that, those two players, the white players, they have a job on their hands and they need to be awake for 90 minutes.
Yeah, massive job.
Yeah.
Certainly. So we'll go on the assumption that Rashford and Sancho either side, and then we're assuming that Ronaldo is going to start. But obviously, we discussed it briefly earlier. I think there's definitely an argument to start Cavani if you completely ignore reputations and what fans want and everything. I'll come to you, Abdul. What does Cavani bring over Ronaldo against a team like Liverpool?
Ronaldo is just, I guess, it has an edge over Cavani in the box because he's done it more successfully than Cavani. But Cavani is just as much as a threat, or even more than as Ronaldo, because of what he does it outside of the box as well. if you give both the center backs the time they want on the ball with no one hassling them, because Ronaldo can press for 90 minutes. He did it last game, I know, so don't come at me. But the most of the other games, he doesn't. If you give them time and space, they can pick out passes as much as they want. And then it will be harder for United to get on the ball themselves. They'll find themselves trying to defend most of the game. So you need someone to run after center backs. You need someone who can come after a midfielder from his blind side and nick the ball off him. So if your striker can do that, Cavani did that for us a lot in the FA Cup, and we won the ball off Liverpool a lot because of Cavani's runs and his attacking the blind side of the midfielders. So that's what Cavani gives you over Ronaldo. Now, presence in the box and movement. I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I think Cavani actually has a better movement because he's lighter. Like, I think he moves faster, he moves a lot, and he thinks quicker.
Yeah.
So he will drag Liverpool's centre backs all over the place. So I would want to see Cavani do that. I'm not saying Ronaldo's not good physically, but Cavani is also strong physically, so he can be a match to Van Dijk, he can be a match to Matip, he can be a match to whoever the centre back that Liverpool is going to put out.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because I think out of the two, if you were to ask Van Dijk and Matip, they would want Ronaldo any day of the week. They won't want Cavani.
Yeah, and he's more agile. He's more agile. He's more light. Like, he moves faster.
He'll split them as well. Yeah. And he's. I know Ronaldo's excellent in the air, but Cavani's he's dynamite. He's quick. He's so sharp in that box, in that 6-yard box. He's so sharp.
And by the way, Ronaldo lost a lot of speed. People don't realize that. I know, like 2 years ago or the last World Cup, he made like an insane run and it went all over the papers. The guy is 35 and he's running like he's 20 and all that. But the last 2 years, he lost a lot of his speed. Like, he couldn't outpace Leicester's center backs. And yesterday he couldn't outpace any of the center backs of Atalanta yesterday. So he's a gold mine in the box, and that's it, full period, unfortunately. And I mean, you have to give it to the guy. He's been doing it for 15 years. Now he's 36, so that's the only value that's left with him, that he is the ultimate goal scorer in the box. That's it.
Certainly. Well, we'll end on that somewhat controversial note then. We're putting Cavani in our team to start versus Liverpool. Ronaldo to the bench. Let us know what you think in the comments, what your starting 11 would be. But other than that, we're going to call it a day. A massive thank you to you three, as I say. Make my job very, very easy. So I love hosting these shows. Yeah. But massive thank you to everyone who got involved in the comments as well. Always appreciated. If you're tomorrow, we'll see you next time.